Good morning. This is Lin Bouthillier from linbouthillier.com. I said good morning, but wherever it is in your part of the world, I hope you're having a beautiful day. I'm a certified trauma recovery coach, and I'd like to welcome you, excuse me, to my ongoing series entitled Monogamous at 13. And I've decided that I'm going to branch off from my ongoing series and make a special series that's dedicated simply to the concept of feeling good. So I think that that group of videos will be entitled Catching Myself Feeling Good. And it's an important thing. It's a really good resource for people who are trauma and abuse survivors, because one of the things that we could really use is someone to help support us in recognizing when we actually feel good and how we begin to train our own system, our entire system, to recognize I am actually doing okay in this moment and I feel really good, or I feel really good when I go near this, or I feel really good when I experience this. And the more of that we can bring in, the more we can rewire our brain, creating new neural pathways in our brain that help us to feel good. So please watch for that series. That will be coming. That is one of the things that I'm working on now. And I'm looking forward to presenting that for you so that you can see that the way that you feel good is available to you. And I know it sounds a little bit redundant, but when we've had a long history of trauma, long history of abuse, and all abuse is trauma, and it doesn't have to be both. It can be one or the other, but I'm a person who has experienced both. It took me a long time to recognize that you can't solve this with just the expression, choose happy. We don't work that way. The science behind, there is no science behind the concept of just choose happy. We can reframe our thoughts. We can soften things a little bit, but it's redundant to just tell someone choose happy, because then when they can't, what do they feel? They feel shame because they can't do it right. And it doesn't work for them. And then they can go into a really lousy feeling. That's no good for anybody. So today's episode of Monogamous at 13 is, it's about trauma and abuse as usual. And because all of my videos have a trigger warning on them, this one does too. And the warning on it is because some of the things I could say could make you have some emotional flashbacks, or it could trigger you into a fight, flight, freeze, or fawn autonomic nervous system response to trauma, which does not feel good. I have my little grounding stone in my hand, and I feel that I've brought myself into a state of anchored and groundedness. And if you have not done that with your own system, it's okay. You can pause the video and spend a couple minutes doing that for yourself. And then when you feel ready, then it's a good idea to then go ahead and continue with the video. My videos are including this warning. Many people who are trauma and abuse survivors who make videos do not pause to ask their clients, I'm so sorry, their viewers, to become anchored and grounded. It's just something that I do because I care about my viewers, and I also want to teach that small concept, because anything other than watching my videos, anything else out in the world that one would do to work on their own trauma, or listen to other trauma survivors, or listen to anything on YouTube or any other platform where someone is telling their story, we can do so much with so little to prevent ourselves from feeling awful while that's happening. And with emotional flashbacks and dissociation and 4F responses to trauma, things like that. So that's why I do that. And if you feel that your system is ready to listen to a person speak about aspects of trauma and abuse, then I'll proceed with the video. And if not, just pause and come back when you're ready. So today's topic, this is special episode number 148 of my ongoing series entitled Monogamous at 13. And my message today, I'll just call it that. My message today is about how we can learn the subtle language of an abuser. Any person who abuses us, if they do it long enough, if it's a long-term pattern of abuse, they will have established most likely certain language that they use. And they use certain language, abusers, all in my experience, every abuser that I've ever experienced does use specific language, which reinforces the concepts that they share with you, which are oftentimes a false concept or a false premise, a false reason for being entitled to doing something. And they say things to us, words that they will use again and again and again. And I like to share the ones that have been used with me, with other abuse survivors, so that they can have those pieces of information and they can put pieces of their own puzzle together. And this little piece of information might help a concept snap into place for you. And that is that the abusive person does, without a doubt, use repetitive phrases again and again and again that help condition us to tolerate the abuse and to believe certain things that are not true. And they want us to believe that they are true. So there's only two of them that I'm going to share today. And the first one is when they say, when you say, let's say, for instance, they have done something just completely grievous to you. They have, let's say, for instance, they shared your texts that were private with another person after promising you that they would never do that to you. And let's say, for instance, they did something that was completely abusive and you responded to them by text. And you told them to stop it and that you aren't going to tolerate it, and that they're being completely out of control of themselves and you are not going to be abused that way. And then months or weeks or days later, you find out that they sent that text out of yours, an angry text that you wrote, demanding that they stop doing the terrible thing that they did. And then they hit you with, yeah, I sent that out to everybody. Well, who's everybody? A few people. Wait a second, please tell me who you send it out to. I don't think you need to know. When they do things like this, they play mind games with you. This is them doing something called baiting. That is them doing something absolutely just horrendous to you, an invasion of your privacy, a crossing of your boundaries. And then they want your response, which we call supply. Your supply for them is when they set the trap for you to take the bait. And I'm not saying it's your fault. It's not your fault. This is someone who is doing something repetitively to you to get a response from you. So I'll just slow this down a little bit for a second. Okay. We're the abused person. That's the abused. One of the tactics that they use is to bait you, B-A-I-T. They're going to bait you with an action that they do that will upset you. It will cross your boundaries. It will be abusive. And then when you respond to that, then they can do something with that response, which is to send it out to people for the purpose of humiliating you, embarrassing you, crossing your boundaries and making you feel awful, disrespecting you, and exploiting you, because this is an exploitation. I'm getting something from doing this to you, and I'm getting it through other people as well as you. I'm getting my needs met, meaning I get attention and I get to feel powerful. I get to have control. And this is the supply that I'm seeking as an abuser. And so when they do that to you, that's baiting technique. And then we respond to it where we say, how dare you? How dare you do something like that to me? You had no right to send my texts out to other people. And then at that moment, they can say these words. When you say, oh, excuse me for a second, when you say, you have no idea how deeply you've hurt me by doing that. Here comes the abuser language that I want you to tune your ears to if you can. When we say, you have hurt me so bad with these actions, I don't know if I can take any more of this being done to me by you. And they'll look at you and soften their gaze, and they'll smile and tilt their head and they'll say, I don't want to hurt you. It was never my intent to hurt you. But usually it'll sound like this: I don't want to hurt you. Or sometimes they'll say, I'm not trying to hurt you now. Why do you think I'm trying to hurt you now? This is such a gaslight. You didn't say now, you're saying what you already did, but they'll twist it just enough. It's just like just one click away from what's happening. Make it just slightly off, and then talk about that as opposed to what truly happened. So let's go back and look at it again. When we're saying, you hurt me when you did that 4 days ago, when you sent my texts out to all these different people, and you had no right to do that. You did that to embarrass, shame, and humiliate me. I don't tolerate that. You crossed my boundaries. You have no right to do that to me. And then when we say, I am absolutely livid that you're doing that to me. In the past, this has happened. I've told you to stop it. If you want a relationship with me at all, you will stop this. And they will say, I don't want to hurt you. What that is that is them using that language to confuse your brain. They're trying to derail the whole situation, because what does that do? It slams you into a state of trying to sort your reality. Wait a second. They're using the right now language. I'm using the days ago language. I'm saying this happened days ago. They're talking about it as if it's right now. That is the trick that they use to keep you in a state of confusion, to make you shut down, because when you can't make sense of what's happening, our natural response to that, our nervous system's response to that, is to just say, I'm on overwhelm right now. I can't. And we walk away. And what does that give the abuser in that moment? They have figured out a way to confuse our brain enough that we shut down, walk away. Where are the consequences for what they did? Are there any consequences possible at that time? Could I make a solid decision in that moment? This person is crossing my boundaries. This is the last time they get to do it. I'm never tolerating this again. This relationship is over. I am separating from you. And it doesn't have to, I don't mean separation in the sense of marriage. I'm saying relationship wise, physical distance needs to now be between us. There needs to be minimal contact. There needs to be no contact. There needs to be an understanding that if you continue to come near me when I choose not to be near you, then there's going to be consequences for that. It will be considered abusive and harassment. Consider it harassment if somebody will not stop doing the things that they do to violate you. But I just wanted to bring that to my viewers' attention today. There is that subtle difference. It's not subtle to your nervous system. It's only subtle to your ears. And when they say, but I don't want to hurt you, you'll hear that again and again and again with an abuser who is trying to keep you in a state of confusion so that you cannot respond appropriately by doing what? They know if they do certain things enough times, they are going to have this relationship completely abandoned by the person they're abusing. The abuse survivor will go into survivor mode and will leave the relationship at some point in time, and then they can't get you back. And then they will try and try and try with all the hoovering techniques and all that stuff to get you back. And so they have to prevent that. They want to take you right up to that edge and then pull back from it. Take you right up to the edge and pull back from it. Take you right up to the edge and pull back from it. How do they pull back from it? By using the abuser language of, I don't want to abuse you. as if all of the complaints that you've ever made, which could be in the dozens to the hundreds to the thousands to the tens of thousands, could be that many over a very long relationship. And if they have done violating things against you again and again and again, they actually believe that they can wash it all away by saying, but I don't want to abuse you, as if they haven't and they're trying not to, which is a giant gaslight. It is an Olympic level gaslight, as I refer to them. So that is the first concept. So we'll just go over it really quickly again. They've crossed your boundaries. You've made your boundaries clear. Say, you may not do this to me. And then some time goes by, and then you find out that they not only did it to you, but they did it to you in a big, huge way that is completely and utterly humiliating to you. And then you find out and you confront them, and they go through their entire, the words of denial. And then when you say, well, actually, this is the proof that you did this, and this has really hurt me. And they say, I don't want to hurt you. That's the first one, okay? Because that is, like I said, they're trying to slam your nervous system into a state of confusion. Did it already happen? Because this person's talking about it never happened and they don't want it to happen in the future. These two stories do not mix, and it's causing all kinds of confusion in my brain. And that's exactly what it's designed to do. Please understand, anytime that you're in the presence of an abuser, or you found out something that the abuser did to you, and it's causing you to feel confusion, that fog, that brain fog that starts, that's them doing it on purpose. It doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means that they're deliberately trying to cause confusion within you, because when the abused is confused, the abuser does not have to face any consequences for what they have done. That is essentially the reason why they do it. Power and control over you. Why? Because they feel entitled and because they want to. And the result is that if they confuse you enough with their power and control over you, that will not result in any whatsoever, any consequences for them. Meaning nothing happens to them from doing this to you. They don't have any losses. They don't have any way they're not forced to take responsibility and accountability and change their behavior. They don't want to change their behavior. They're not going to change their behavior. They believe they have an entitlement and a right to continue to mistreat another human being. All right, that was the first way of the two subtle ways that an abuser messes with your mind, okay, the way they cause confusion. And the second one is, excuse me, I have to pause for just a second. I'm going to sneeze. So sorry about that. Okay, the second subtle way that an abuser uses language to confuse the abused is to take words that sound similar to each other but do not mean the same thing and substitute them in and out for each other. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. This is a very common one. Substituting the word regret for the word remorse. Because when someone has harmed us, and they want us to believe that they feel remorse for what they've done, that they understand they have violated another person, they've injured another person, they have tricked or played you, or they have crossed your boundaries, they have exploited or minimized or invalidated or embarrassed or humiliated or shamed or mischaracterized you, the things that they do through their verbal, emotional, psychological abuse. And it can be pretty far reaching and it can be quite devastating. I experienced multiple different occasions of smear campaign from instigated by the same person that I was in relationship with, where they wanted to do maximum damage and they wanted it to go on without me knowing until they pulled the pin and wanted the explosion to happen, and they did. And one of the first things that they said to me when they realized when they were getting the supply from me, which was my rage and my anger and my humiliation and my shame and my embarrassment and my words of how dare you do this to me? How dare you interfere with my life this way? How dare you go into my personal friendships and to my doctor's offices and just everywhere you could possibly go in my life, to my mother in her care home, all these different things. When I responded, it was a verbally and emotionally explosive response, for sure, as it would be. Any person who finds out they've been violated that bad will have the natural, normal, typical responses of a person who has been horrendously abused. And when that happens, they are getting supply. Once again, all of it is going to produce the supply that they're sucking up. I refer to it as like they're like a mosquito, and they're sucking up your supply like a mosquito sucks blood up through its proboscis. They just can't get their belly full enough of your supply, meaning your emotions, your emotional responses to what they do. They don't care if it's attention towards them for something good that they've done, or attention towards them for something horrendous that they've done. They don't differentiate between that. They just want your attention, and the more intense the attention, the more they feel okay. And so their supply is like a drug that they're addicted to, and they get the feel-good chemicals when they receive it. They're getting serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine when they do violating things to you and you respond. It becomes an addiction. And so when they are addicted to the feel-good chemicals in their brain that they get a download, a dump of in their brain when they violate you and you respond. This is a very, very, very nasty thing that is a form of the cycle of abuse. And when we have this cycle of abuse that's happening, where we're being used and exploited so that they can get their feel-good chemicals, gets a little old for us pretty quick. And what we can begin to notice is that they're using more subtle language to get away with continuing this cycle, because they want to say something that will appease the person so they will not leave. If you are trauma bonded to an abuser, and it does not have to be an intimate partner, you can be trauma bonded to an abusive parent, an older sibling, a person who was a guardian in your younger life. You can be trauma bonded to a grandparent. You can be trauma bonded to a supervisor at work. You can be trauma bonded to an intimate partner. I was trauma bonded at a very early age. It began when I have to say, it might have started when I was 12, but it was fully underway when I was 13, when I first met my boyfriend, who became my longtime boyfriend, and then my fiance, and then my spouse. And so, yeah, trauma bonds can be incredibly powerful. They're incredibly strong. We can break them, but we usually need to do some significant learning about how to do that. And we need some support through it too. I did get some support with ending, or what we call breaking a trauma bond. But one of the ways, another way, and see the first subtle thing that they do that I mentioned already in this video, the phrase, "I don't want to hurt you." That's another tool of trauma bonding. I want to be very clear about that abuser language. A lot of the abuser language is made and used and designed to keep you inside of the trauma bond so that you can't get out. It's very subtle language of control that's being used. And here's another one, okay? The difference between regret and remorse. We know the difference between regret and remorse. Regret means, I'm really sorry that this didn't work out for me. Remorse means, I am so sorry that I hurt another human being and it didn't work out for them. So these two sound similar, and an abuser uses these words interchangeably. But my experience is that they will take the word regret and put their hand over their heart and speak the word regret as if they're using the word remorse. And when you say, again, how dare you? You did this to me. It injured me. This person that we're in this abusive relationship with, and I am not encouraging anybody to stay, and I am not telling anybody to go. I am neutral on that. Each person needs to decide for themselves. We don't need to insinuate our opinion and our planned outcome into their life, because to do that is to abuse someone as well. So when I say to someone, if we learn the difference between regret and remorse, and then we listen for how much the abuser uses either the word regret or remorse when they're talking about, when you confront them and you say, this is my boundary, you may not do this to me ever again, and these will be the consequences if you do. And it might be, I'll get an order of protection. I'm going to leave your presence and you will not be seeing me or contacting me anymore. And just, I need to get this behavior to stop. And if you can't stop the behavior, then I'm going to make myself completely unavailable. And if you do still contact me after that, you're going to have legal consequences if you continue. So I have been at that point where that has to be brought out. And the person may look at you and make that softened expression and tilt their head, and they soften their voice, put their hand on their heart, and they'll go like this to you and say, I totally regret what I did to you. Please, please understand, I won't do that to you anymore. They won't say, please forgive me. Oftentimes they will not ever mention the word forgive unless they want you to forgive them. Okay. Or, excuse me. I'm sorry. They want to be, they don't like to talk about the word forgiveness. Forgiveness implies that they did something wrong, and they don't like that at all. They don't go anywhere near personal accountability and responsibility. They simply don't. So with the hand on the heart, and they'll look at you and they'll tilt their head and soften their voice, and they'll say, I feel such regret for what I did to you. I should never have done that. Or they'll say, that was wrong of me. That was wrong of me to do that. I feel such regret. What that is a steaming load of you know what, okay? It is garbage. Because if a person truly felt that what they did to you was wrong and violating, and they recognized it, they might just look at you and say, I did wrong to you. I feel sick that I did that to you. I am truly sorry. I truly feel remorse for it. It will never happen again. I'm naming what I did. I know that what I did was awful, and this is what I did to you. Just to be clear, I did that to you. I had no right to do it. And I recognize that right now. It was wrong. It was violating. It was terrible. It was humiliating for you. It was just an absolute disgrace for me to do that to you. And it will never happen again. I will not do it again. You can take it to the bank that I will not do that to you or any other human being ever again. And they might even go so far as to, and this is a person who's not an abuser, will not say these words. They might even go go the distance of saying, I feel such shame. I feel so much shame and guilt inside. I can't believe that I did that to you. And I'm asking if you could please forgive me. Okay. When I mentioned before the word forgive, and I'm saying that the abuser doesn't ask that question, can you please forgive me? They don't. If they ever do, it would be the most insincere question. And they're going to go back and do it again anyways. And that's how you know that they didn't want your forgiveness, because forgiveness means with the understanding, I will not do this again. So you need, if I could have your trust that I will not do this again, then I'm earning your forgiveness. But anytime they say anything about what they've done to you, it's not going to sound like what I just said. That would be a sincere apology from one human being to another. And it has the certain components that need to be inside of an apology, like naming what you did, stating that you are truly sorry, stating the remorse, stating that it won't happen again, and stating that I'm so sincere. I know that it's going to be hard for me to earn back your trust. And I'm asking you if you could please forgive me. And I want to show you that you can trust me again. I know you can't instantly trust me again. I have to earn back that trust because I broke the trust and I have to repair the trust. That's an apology. We don't hear those words from an abuser. So when we hear this instead, oh, you know what? That when you confront them and say, you know, your smear campaign against me, it was an absolute devastation, an explosion in my life. I didn't need this. I did not need this complication in my life. You did character assassination against me. I lost friendships over this. There are people who believe the garbage that you said that was false about me. It's had very negative consequences in my life. And I'm asking you to please stay out of my personal business. Here's a boundary. I'm creating a boundary. Please do not cross this. And I need you to understand right now that what you did to me was horrendous. And I am waiting for an apology from you for what you did to me that I just found out about. And they will look at you and say, it was wrong. I probably shouldn't have done it. And hand on the heart, soften the face, looking right at you and going, I totally regret doing that. I shouldn't have. I regret it. You can take that straight to the sewer because it's a load of you know what. It's not an apology. So why does Lynn talk about these things with viewers? Because I want you to have that empowerment of knowing the language of an abuser and to be able to have conscious awareness that here's the language of an abuser, what it sounds like, and here's the language of a person of love, light, truth, compassion, and human decency. And in the exact same situation, if the person of love, light, truth, compassion, and human decency made a horrendous mistake and violated you, they would use the word remorse and they would say, I feel sick about it. I will never do that to you again. I would love to earn back your trust, but I understand that you can't trust me now because I broke that trust. And so I'm telling you, I have tremendous remorse for what I did. And you might not be able to accept my apology now, but maybe someday you will. I would love it if you could someday accept my apology. And I will wait patiently while you see and while you understand that I'm not harming you anymore. I will not. You have my word. You can take it to the bank that I will not harm you anymore. That's an apology. And it comes with the word remorse. You will never hear the word regret in a quality apology. But over on this side is the abuser who every single thing that they utter towards you after they harm you is trauma bonding language. I shouldn't have done it. It was wrong. I feel regret. I regret. They might not even say feel regret. They might say, I regret doing that to you. I really regret it. I probably shouldn't have done it. Probably. You're gonna throw the word probably out. Most of the behavior, most of the language of an abuser is truly reprehensible. And the longer that they get away with it, the more reprehensible it becomes. But why would they be using the word regret instead of remorse? To look like they're having a sincere moment when they are not, is to have power and control over you so that you believe that they changed the behavior and that they got it, that they hurt you, when they're offering zero of that. And this way, they haven't made a sincere apology, which means they have carte blanche to keep on doing it. Because they never once said in that fake apology that they would stop. They never once said that it will never happen again. And that's the subtle differences between the language of a person of love, light, truth, and compassion and human decency, and the language of an abuser. It's the difference between the behavior of a person who is a big five individual, love, light, truth, compassion, and human decency that they embody. And none of those things are inside the abuser. The only thing inside of the abuser is just absolute devoid of empathy, devoid of compassion, devoid of morals, devoid of conscience, devoid of care, and absolutely devoid of personal accountability and responsibility. And what is their number one objective? Always, the number one objective is to avoid responsibility, accountability, and consequences. So I thought that might help you today to have those explanations so that you have a clearer idea of what goes on inside the dark void inside of the person who abuses you. And what does that give you? Now that you know, have clarity on those things. Yes, it brings you clarity. It also brings you calmness, because when you're interacting with a person who is doing that, you can just stay calm as can be and not take the bait and say, yeah, I recognize the language of an abuser and you're not getting any from me today. You will not be getting supply from me. And just sort of like the way on Charlie Brown, when Lucy Van Pelt was at her psychiatric little booth, her little psychiatry booth, and 5 cents for psychiatric advice. Or just advice. Sometimes I believe it was just advice, but sometimes she would just pull the shade down on it, and that means we're done for the day. Well, you can emotionally and energetically pull the shade down on it when the person is giving you the turd ball language, which is one of the words I use for it. And it's a little bit vulgar, but they are vulgar. And I don't feel shame for using vulgar language inside my mind and inside my experiences. I will use that language to remind myself they are vulgar. This way I'm not smoothing it over. I'm not making excuses for them or prettying it up. I'm not making it prettier than it is. I'm recognizing it's vulgar, and I will label it with my language as vulgar. But I'm not going to lose my what with them, because then that's giving them supply to use against me, and I'm not doing that. So what I do is I just say, I recognize this as abuser language, using regret instead of remorse, or saying, but I don't want to hurt you after they've done a tremendous harm to me. We can just take the shade, pull it down, and say, I'm closed now. I'm closed. I'm not having any more. And just go about our day, go about our business. And I will say it took me a long time to understand this, but in order to protect myself, I did need to start documenting it, just not obsessively so, just little tiny bits of documentation. If something happened on a certain day, what I do is I send an email. I send an email directly to them that is a summary of the behavior. Just one paragraph, just one small summary of the behavior to document it. Because if we ever have to go to court, if anything ever happens to me, if I find that my vehicle's been destroyed, or if I'm being stalked, if something like that happened to me, then I can say, oh, well, you know what? I can go in to get an order of protection, and I can prove, just open my emails, just read my emails. Everything is right there in real time, documented on this day, at this time, this happened, this place, this location, it's all there. And I don't have to obsess about that. I look at it the same way, as it takes about as much time as brushing and flossing my teeth. It's just part of my self-care. When we look at it that way, I only have to spend a very tiny amount of my day doing this, but it is so that I can protect myself from a person who chooses to do me harm. And they're relentless in wanting to do me harm and doing me harm. But I don't have to live miserable. I just have to live just a tiny bit smart and get between them and the damage that they want to do to me in the smartest, best informed, self-care, loving myself sort of way. And I don't have to spend any time doing anything to them to get them to stop. I just have to say you're not available to do that to me. I'm not available to respond to you doing that garbage to me. And I'm over here living my best life, and you can stay away. And if you come up to that boundary and you cross it, you're going to start with getting a cease and desist letter from my attorney. And if you still cross the boundary after the cease and desist letter, then we're going into court and you're going to get a restraining order against yourself. It's not hard to do. It's an annoyance. It's like having when you're apart from an abuser and the abuser still keeps getting, I want some supply from you. I want some of that rich, sticky, gooey, wonderful, just like sweetened condensed milk supply. I just want that sweet, wonderful, rich supply in my belly. And the best supply in the world comes from you. And that's where I want it from. And I'm going to come and get some. And we can just pull that shade down and say, no supply for you today. Nope, my little booth is closed. You won't be getting any, and you don't get served here anymore. So that's how we do it. Recognizing the words, the subtle expressions, the subtle words, the things that they've said again and again and again to us. And when somebody like Coach Lin speaks it out loud, then our system goes, oh, I have heard that before. Oh my gosh, he's been saying that to me, or she's been saying that to me, or they have been saying that to me for years. And I never noticed it before, but I hear it now. And that is exactly what this video is about, helping you to receive that little piece of information that might make you pivot just 1 degree off from the course that you've been on, so that you can move towards living a life that is peaceful, abuse-free, and full of the things that you love and the things that you love to be, do, have, accomplish, and be near. So this has been a really good conversation. I am delighted that you were here with me for this time. I appreciate so much that you come to my channel. If you find value in what I do here, please hit the like button. Hit the like button on this video right now. It would be really helpful. Thank you. It helps the trauma and abuse community by you being here, participating in the channel, putting comments in the comment section, liking my channel, sharing my channel on whatever platform you want, or just a video, share it on whatever platform you want, anywhere. It's fine. It's fine. I appreciate shares. And then hit the notification bell so you can be told when I put up new content for you. But it helps me, and it helps the trauma and abuse community, which is a massive community. I wish it wasn't. I wish it was a very tiny community. But unfortunately, it is a massive, global, worldwide community. And I just want to say hello to my viewers that are on the other side of the world. I have some viewers that are in India. I have some viewers that are in the UK and Australia, a few other places. And if you're viewing now, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for letting me know where you're from. Have the very best day, everyone. If you want to work with me as your certified trauma recovery coach, I am accepting new clients. You can reach me, linbouthillier.com is my website. You can email me, lin@linbouthillier.com. And my phone number is 716-994-3052. And all of that information is in the description for my channel at the bottom of the description page on every video. So if you didn't write it down, no worries. It's findable if you go to the description page for my videos. Self-care is never, ever selfish. It's essential. And you are worthy of your own trauma recovery. See you in the next one.